and welcome to the Teaching for Success Engagement Series. I'm your host, Rosa Kemirembe. Thank you for joining me today for a conversation that strikes at the very heart of who we are and who we are becoming as a society. Our topic is both a warning and a call to action, captured in one potent phrase. Today's tolerated vice becomes tomorrow's norm and the next day's virtue. Again, today's tolerated vice becomes tomorrow's norm and the next day's virtue. Let's sit with that for a moment. It describes a dangerous quiet slide. It's the process where something we know is wrong today. We shake our heads at it, we complain about it, but we ultimately tolerate it. For our children, it's become just the way things are. And for their children, it's no longer even a problem. It might be celebrated as clever or smart or just the necessary way to get ahead in life today. To understand this, we must be clear on what we mean by a vice. A vice is more than a mistake. It's a moral flaw, a habit of character that harms the individual and rots the community from within. It is the choice of selfish, short-term gain over collective long-term good. In Uganda today, we don't have to look far for examples, do we? They are the open secrets we've almost grown numb to. The corrupt official who builds a mansion while the local clinic has no medicine. The thief who's not a shadowy figure but maybe the person who overinflates a contract. The bribe that you give to speed up a document or that a traffic officer expects. In business, we see cheating, selling counterfeit goods, poor quality materials passed off as premium, forged receipts to hide the truth. We see it in poor work ethics. The contractor who leaves a job half finished, the clerk who won't lift a finger without a tip. We see it in our environment, in the garbage piled up on the streets, a sign of a deeper resignation, a tolerated neglect of our shared home, Uganda. The frightening part is not that these things happen. The frightening part is how normal they have become. We sigh, we say, that's just how it is. This is Uganda. That sigh and that statement, that resignation is the exact moment of toleration. The proverb warns about. We have in many ways allowed these vices to become our current generation's norm. And if we follow the logic of history, the next generation will not just accept this norm, they will push the boundaries further. What was a hidden bribe becomes an open fee. What was poor quality cement becomes deliberately toxic building material. The generation after that, they may grow up in a system so distorted, they believe that exploiting others is virtue, that dishonesty is intelligence. So, what is our duty? How do we stop this pendulum from swinging into an abyss? The answer lies not in waiting for some grand political solution, but in the deliberate daily work of educating our youngsters. We must begin in age-appropriate ways to change the very mindset that accepts this decay. This requires holistic teaching, creating spaces not just for instruction in schools and institutions of higher education, but for discussion and debate. Our classrooms must become laboratories for ethics. Imagine students debating a case study about a shopkeeper selling fake seeds to farmers. What are the short-term gains? The long-term consequences for the farmer's family, for food security, for the shopkeeper's soul. Through guided debate, students don't just hear that corruption is bad, they reason their way to understanding its cancerous effects and brainstorm real practical solutions. They build the muscles for higher moral, life, and community standards. But how do we translate this into daily practice? How do we teach a student in the classroom to be a person of integrity in the marketplace tomorrow? First, we must embed these lessons into the very fabric of the curriculum. This isn't just one lesson on a Friday afternoon. In a literature class, when we read about a character facing a moral dilemma, we must pause and ask, what would you do? What would integrity demand? In history, we don't just list kings and battles. We analyze how corruption contributed to the fall of great empires and the suffering of their people. In science, we teach the ethics of our environment, why dumping plastic isn't just messy, it's a violation of our duty as stewards. We must explicitly teach social justice, the principle that everyone deserves fair economic, political, and social rights and opportunities. And we must pair with it the critical concept of freedom of speech. We must teach that this freedom is not a license to speak trash, to insult, or to spread lies. It is a sacred responsibility to speak truth with respect, to build up, not to tear down. Most crucially, we must attack the root of so many vices. The idea that the highest goal in life is personal wealth. We must nurture a larger desire. How do we teach a child that the purpose of a career is not just to make money, but to increase the wealth, health, and well-being of our nation? We do it by connecting their learning to real life. We involve them in community mapping projects, identifying a local problem like a clogged drainage ditch, flooding in the city, and designing a cleanup and advocacy plan. We invite role models who are successful, not because they cut corners, not because they were corrupt, but because they built with integrity. We tell the stories of Ugandans whose legacy is a healthier community, a thriving cooperative, a school they built, not the car they drove. Accountability is key. We need frameworks that jog their moral memory every single day. This could be a classroom constitution co-created by students on the first day, listing the ethical climate they want to live in. It could be peer recognition boards where students publicly acknowledge acts of integrity they witnessed. It could be reflection journals where students privately assess their own choices. When was I tempted today? How did I respond? And this cannot wait. This education must start right from kindergarten, from nursery. For a 5-year-old, character education is learning to share the crayons, to tell the truth about a broken toy, to take care of the classroom plant. These are the foundational stones upon which a life of integrity is built. As we end today, I want to leave you with this charge. Remember, the Uganda of the future is being built not only in parliament or in boardrooms, but in our classrooms, at our dinner tables, and in the daily conversations we have with our young people. We stand at a critical point in the pendulum swing. The proverb rings in our ears as a warning. Today's tolerated vice becomes tomorrow's norm and the next day's virtue. But we can rewrite the ending. Let us be the generation that plants the seeds of integrity so deeply, so purposefully, that our children will harvest a different reality. Let us educate, not just for exams, but for character. Let us build a legacy, not of tolerated decay, but of unwavering courage, justice, and collective prosperity. This is your host, Rosa Kemerembe. Thank you for spending this time with me. Tune in next time for more insightful discussions on teaching for success. Go forth and teach with purpose.